So something that we haven't really talked about on the channel is the fact that Tesla is working on some new batteries that can last 1 million miles in their lifespan, and what kind of an impact that new technology will have on the company, their business, and subsequently the stock as well. And this was something that a lot of people were very skeptical about on whether Tesla could even achieve a 1 million mile battery. And I think a lot of people just felt like Elon Musk was probably being overly optimistic. However, a new research report recently came out showing that Tesla is probably a lot closer to achieving this new technology than previously thought. On top of that, Tesla just made another acquisition, this time of a Canadian battery maker that may help them improve their battery production. So, as a long-term Tesla bull myself, where do I see all of this heading towards in the future, and why is all of this important for Tesla and the stock? Well, that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do, make sure you hit the like button, and let's go ahead and get started. What's up, everyone? My name is Ale. Welcome back to my world of stocks. Okay, let's go ahead and dive right into this, and let's take a look at that 1 million-mile battery technology and see why it's important for Tesla going forward. Well, you might remember that earlier this year, Tesla had an Autonomy Investors Day where Elon Musk stated that they are working on a new battery pack that will have 1 million miles of life. Now, he clarified that currently the vehicles that Tesla makes are all designed, tested, and validated for a full 1 million miles of operation. However, their current battery packs do not support that many miles in their lifetime. Instead, Musk noted that their current batteries are only doing around half that amount or less, somewhere in the range of 300 to 500,000 miles. So essentially, we're talking about batteries that can last double the life cycle that they currently do, or more. Keep in mind that the Model S used to only last around 150,000 miles back when it first launched, so this is obviously an enormous improvement and a step in the right direction in terms of battery innovation and progress. And perhaps even more important is that with this new technology, Elon Musk stated that the entire vehicle and the battery will in fact last around 1 million miles with only light maintenance. Yet when looking at ICE vehicles, it was difficult to find averages, but I did find this report from Cascade Collision from last year that states that new cars only last around 8 years or 150,000 miles, which I'm assuming is before needing any kind of serious repairs, or maybe just when the owner is getting kind of bored with the vehicle and either gets rid of it or sells it or whatever else. Now, 150,000 miles sounds very low to me, but even if we double that average to as much as 300,000 miles, we'd still be only talking about around 30% of how long a Tesla would now be expected to last. Again, there can obviously be a number of exceptions to this, as some people obviously take care of their cars much better than others, and you can also have a manufacturing defect, and certainly Tesla has had a number of issues like that themselves, as they're still a relatively new automaking company. But the fact remains that if Tesla can actually achieve a 1 million-mile battery, that dramatically makes their vehicles more valuable, not just for consumers, but also for Tesla and the different markets that they're trying to eventually compete in, as we'll take a look at in just a second. Now, of course, you might be asking, well, how much would it cost to replace the batteries in the first place? In other words, how much money is potentially being saved by having longer lifespan batteries? Well, there are no concrete answers to this question because it really depends on the size of the battery and how much Tesla is paying per kilowatt hour at that time. But I think the most recent estimates came from Elon Musk when he was talking about the Model 3, and he said on Twitter that by replacing modules instead of the entire pack, they could potentially get the cost down to just around $5,000 to $7,000. But even then, you're still talking about maybe around 15 or 20% of the cost of the car, so it's still pretty high. And again, that's just replacing modules on the Model 3, but the actual price of the battery, when taking into account the size, it's likely to be much more expensive than that. In fact, I was looking through some Tesla forums and I saw multiple people quoting battery replacement estimates of as much as $15,000. And I'm not saying that those estimates are accurate, but no matter how you look at this or who you believe, the point is that the savings would definitely be substantial if you're actually able to double the lifespan of the battery. Now, like I mentioned before, many people, including the media, used to be very skeptical about Tesla reaching this 1 million-mile lifespan, but a recent research paper that was published last month in the Journal of the Electrochemical Society described a new chemistry that produces batteries that can last 4,000 charge cycles and therefore last around 1 million miles. Now, you might be wondering why this paper matters so much to the Tesla bull community. Well, the reason it matters is because the paper was written by a group of researchers from a university in Canada that have an actual exclusive agreement with Tesla, who happened to file a patent just a few days after the paper was released. And it was for the same battery technology, with one of the researchers from the paper being listed as one of the inventors on the actual patent. In other words, this is Tesla's technology that we're talking about, and their million-mile battery is therefore becoming much more of a reality. Okay, so we know that Tesla is actively working on these new batteries, and while I think it's great to have these improved technologies available for the average consumer, I think the real benefits actually lie elsewhere, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about next. So let's take a look at why these batteries are important for Tesla's business and the new markets that they're trying to enter, and therefore why I think that these batteries are actually critical for the stock going forward when looking at it from a long-term perspective. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, well, the obvious reason why this matters for Tesla is that they have large ambitions for launching a robotaxi service as early as next year. Now, in my previous videos, I've stated that we're likely around 3 years or more away from actually seeing a full robotaxi service from Tesla being available in our neighborhoods, just because I think it will be heavily regulated and therefore take a lot of time before starting to really ramp up. However, Elon is much more optimistic, as he plans to have as many as 1 million vehicles running with full self-driving hardware by mid next year that would be eligible for the robotaxi fleet. And Tesla owners would be enticed to join the fleet since they can potentially make around $30,000 a year or more. That would obviously raise the value of their vehicles dramatically, as you could essentially pay off your new Tesla in just a few years and then rake in profits every year after. In fact, Tesla estimates that the value of a robotaxi Tesla would be a couple $100,000. As a result, Elon Musk has gone as far as to say on Twitter that the price of autonomous Tesla vehicles will likely go up significantly over time, as they're just so much more valuable. And in the areas where there are not enough Tesla owners to add their vehicles to the fleet, Tesla would supplement the fleet themselves and even go as far as to take lease vehicles back without offering a buy option at the end of the lease, because of how valuable those vehicles can be to the robotaxi fleet. And all of this is in an effort to tap into an enormous market that is growing at gigantic rates. In the United States, the ride-hailing market is expected to grow to over $75 billion by 2023, according to Statista, and almost $100 billion in China, which, to be fair, I have no idea what the rules would be in Tesla operating a robotaxi service out in China, but if they are allowed to, that could be a big opportunity for them as well. But either way, the global autonomous vehicle market is expected to reach over $500 billion by 2026, according to Allied Market Research, and grow at a compound annual growth rate of almost 40%, while ARK Invest is even more bullish, but they are kind of biased because they are heavy investors of Tesla, but they estimate that revenue from autonomous platform providers, specifically mentioning ones that offer autonomous ride-hailing services, will be worth trillions of dollars by 2030. Keep in mind that Tesla only did around $21 billion in total revenue last year, so it's clear why they would want to tackle this market as early and as aggressively as possible. And I bring all of this up because what is critical to Tesla launching an economically viable robotaxi service is a battery pack that can actually survive an insanely higher amount of miles being driven and charges being done on a regular basis. See, when you are constantly discharging and recharging lithium-ion batteries, that puts a ton of strain on the batteries, and they eventually lose energy capacity and slowly die off. On the other hand, the new batteries can last around 4,000 charge cycles and still only lose about 10% of their energy capacity. For context, this report from Wired points out that similar batteries just in 2014 would lose half of their capacity after only 1,000 cycles. So you're talking about expensive batteries needing to be replaced all the time, and that's just not really sustainable if you want to launch an actual robo-taxi fleet. But it doesn't just stop with robotaxis. The new batteries are just as important for Tesla's upcoming semi-trucks that will need to travel enormous amounts of miles every single day and will therefore need to be charged much more frequently as well. And of course, the batteries need to be able to survive all of that without losing so much capacity that will ultimately destroy their range and therefore need to be replaced before going on long transportation trips. And by the way, this is another really large market to tap into, as Global Market Insights projects the heavy duty truck market to grow to over $160 billion by 2025. So it's clear why this would matter so much to Tesla. Now, I get that all of these things sound very ambitious, and I don't blame bears for being very skeptical on whether or not Tesla can actually succeed in all of these different markets and areas. But as a Tesla bull myself, I guess my argument would be that Tesla continues to out-innovate all of their competitors by going all in on hardware and software that I believe are the future. On the hardware side, Tesla has already created their own self-driving computer that uses a combination of two Tesla-made AI chips that they claim is more powerful than any of the competition, although Nvidia would challenge those claims. But on the software side, Tesla has also been able to collect billions of autonomous related miles, while the next closest competitor in Waymo has only done millions in comparison. And Tesla hasn't stopped there, as they've made key acquisitions throughout this year to innovate even further and help them reach their goals. Just a little while ago, they acquired a 4-year-old artificial intelligence startup company called DeepScale that does research on deep neural networks, which is a sort of deep learning AI that is often used for autonomy, while the founder and CEO has officially joined the Tesla Autopilot team just a couple weeks ago. And going back to batteries, it was just reported this past week that Tesla quietly acquired another company called Highbar Systems that specializes in high-speed battery manufacturing systems specifically for electric vehicles. This comes after also acquiring Maxwell Technologies at the start of the year that has amazing intellectual properties that have to do with increasing battery densities, range, life, and also improving costs. So the whole picture is really now starting to come into focus. You might remember that back at that Investors Day, Elon Musk specifically said that their ultimate goal is to bring pretty much everything in-house, including vehicle and battery production, computer hardware design, software development, and all while continuously collecting more and more data so that they can keep innovating and outworking the competition. And that's why I think that all of this battery technology and literally everything else that Tesla is doing is incredibly important for the company and the stock, because it's clear to me that this is a company that really wants to be an industry leader in multiple different areas, and they want to do it themselves. They want to bring the processes in-house and be in control of their future. And that's something that I really like about Tesla. So I remain bullish. I remain holding a smaller, admittedly still kind of speculative position in Tesla because of the lack of profitability, but I'm still adding to my position slowly over time, especially when there's any kind of significant dips. Like back when they dipped below 200, that was a time where I was buying very aggressively. And I don't know that they'll retest those levels, but I'm kind of hoping they do, because I think those were some great prices just kind of for the long term. And again, I know that there's a lot of issues with profitability, but for a company that's not even profitable, I think it's pretty impressive how innovative they continue to be and how they continue to release products that are so much better than the competition, and they still have so much future potential. So as a spec stock, I think Tesla is probably the best spec stock out there in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Always do your own research, guys. Make your own decisions, do your own due diligence. Do not copy other people's portfolios or other people's opinions or sentiments. Make your own decisions, guys. I know the vast majority of you understand that, but just for the tiny percent that don't, I'm just trying to get that through their heads. So anyway, thanks again for watching the video, and let me know what you guys think down below. Even if you're a bear or a short seller, it's good to have this kind of dialogue. So make sure you leave your comments. I'll try to respond and we can have a conversation. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button. It really helps support the channel. Really means a lot to me. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.